This episode is brought to you by Visit Jacksonville. Sure, we get spring breakers, but you're more likely to find breaking waves ridden by surfers and pelicans. Picture a canopy of oak trees shading an historic neighborhood. We're a little bit of country and a whole lot of southern rock and roll. That's Jacksonville in a nutshell. And it's time to share it with your friends and family. Visit Jacksonville is giving you the chance to win a dream staycation this summer. It's the perfect getaway right in your own backyard. You could win a weekend full of exciting opportunities at Jacksonville's best local restaurants, attractions, and more, complete with a 3-night hotel stay. Do you have friends coming to town this summer and need ideas for them to do? From hidden gems to must-see spots, Visit Jacksonville has you covered. Download the Visit Jax app or go to visitjacksonville.com for your summer inspiration and your chance to win.
In business, security isn't optional, it's essential. Flylock Security Solutions is North Florida's trusted, locally owned partner for commercial protection. We specialize in access control, video surveillance, gate automation, intercoms, safes, doors, and advanced locking systems, plus 24/7 cost-effective monitoring and virtual guard services. From gate controllers to intercoms, ADA and fire-rated doors, to safes and 24/7 monitoring, our team is here to protect what matters most. Available 24/7, 365 days a year, because downtime is not an option. Visit flylock.com to schedule today. Flylock Security Solutions, local expertise, commercial peace of mind.
All right, so this isn't Manifest Distilling.
It is not.
I can tell you that. This is a really, really special moment. And when I think about our path in life, and you think about, I remember the day I met you in PE class in 9th grade playing field hockey, and not once in my life would I've ever thought we would be talking to the chief of staff to the president of the United States together one day.
I think a lot of people would be surprised to know that, that this is happening.
Not a normal thing. But I'm so excited to be here today.
Yeah, I think we should jump right in. But before we do, I just want to say a special thanks to John Payton and Gate Petroleum for transporting our team and the crew up here so that we could do this. We really appreciate them.
Yeah, big thanks. What they mean to Jacksonville and you know, serving in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Love them to death. And I just want to make sure he understands how much we appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely.
But we're here for one reason, and we got to get right into it because there's so much to talk about. You know, I think about somebody who's been a mentor to me through my career, has advised me. I wouldn't be at the chamber today if it weren't for her. And she was gracious enough to spend some time with us today. I'm so excited for this conversation and for you to get a chance to know Susie Wiles. And Susie, it's so good to see you today. It's an honor to be in your office.
Listen, I miss home. I miss Jacksonville so much. This has been a treat for me to know you all were coming.
Good. I'm so excited. So the podcast has, we just started it, and we've had all the people that you would recognize in Jacksonville. And the whole idea is to talk about who they are as a person, not really what they do, because people read about you in the newspaper. They see you in the news all over the world, but they really don't know who Susie is.
Unfortunate. We try to avoid that. But
no, you're doing such a good job. And I think people are dying to find out who Susie Wiles is. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. And we're so grateful for your time.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
I'm glad John Payton was able to transport what could be a crew for the biggest movie in the world to my little office.
It's quite a production, isn't it? Thank you for letting us invade your space
and
set up. And
it took a little while, and it's just it's monumental for us to be here. But I think we usually start the conversation off, and when I talk to friends of mine that I haven't had a chance to introduce to my other friends, I ask them to tell their story. And so would you mind just starting off with where you grew up and what it was like in your home? And
sure. My story is long because I'm old. I was born in Florida, raised in the Northeast, and I've been slowly making my way south ever since then. But I've lived in Jacksonville, St. Johns County. Gosh, it'll be going on 40 years. Both my kids were born there, raised there, and it's so home. And I really do miss it. Washington's wonderful. I pinch myself every day that I get to do this, but I sure miss home.
Well, we know you do.
So growing up, you grew up in a family that had a little extra attention on it. For the viewers that are tuning in that aren't aware of your family, could you share a little bit about your father?
Sure. My dad is a product of Lake City, Florida, was when it was still the Chicago Cardinals football team, the New York Giants, and then he became a sportscaster. So my whole sort of growing up life, he was a sportscaster climbing the ladder until ultimately sort of was, I think many people would say, the voice of the NFL and golf.
Yeah.
You said you grew up in the Northeast.
Mm-hmm.
What area of the Northeast?
New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey.
And what was the house like? Did you have siblings at the house?
Yes, I have two brothers. I'm the oldest. I have two brothers. There's never been a more competitive family than mine, and that includes my mom. It was a good training ground for my profession. And certainly for here now, but we were pretty normal, particularly given my dad's notoriety in my junior high school and high school years. But close family. My dad's an only child, so I didn't have aunts and uncles over there. But on my mom's side, we did, and we were the only ones that moved north. We're very much products of the South, but my family moved north for my dad's job, and that's kind of that.
Yeah. As you were growing up, what were some of your interests? Were you into sports? I know your dad was.
You couldn't
obviously...
live in my house and not be into sports. They used to we all played tennis, and they used to call us the gladiators, because where you had to reserve a tennis court, nobody would do that in the middle of the day in August except us. So it didn't matter the weather, it didn't matter the sport, it didn't really matter the gender. There was nothing we didn't play as a family, and when we needed a sixth, we'd usually get, a boyfriend of mine or a friend of my brother's, and we that was all day, every day. I was a little bit of a bookworm, I guess. But growing up, sports was a big part of our family. I was raised in the Episcopal Church. That was a big part of life. Catholic school, all that.
All right. Yeah. So I think TJ and we kind of grew up in competition, in competitive sports as well.
Can I just tell you, I didn't know about boys playing field hockey, but I guess whatever.
Well, it's a Florida thing. They would throw us out there during PE and just tell us to run as hard as we could. It was kind of like hockey, but it was out there in the field. So it's the best way Florida could have any type of hockey. So it was a lot of fun, and competition is everything to us. I mean, you've known me forever, and I think that those athletics and the sports and learning how to deal with a coach and learning how to work with teammates means so much to how I operate today. And do you feel like you kind of had the same
100%
aspect?
100%. And I raised my, daughters that way too. Being a part of it. There's nothing more important, I don't think, in succeeding in almost any environment than being a part of a team. And from the team, it's certainly greater than any individual. Right. So I'm a big believer in that. It's the way we've built the team at the White House, the way we did it in the campaign. And you start that on a sports team. You start that with field hockey, which was a girls' sport when I grew up. But that's
I guess we played a girls' sport in PE.
You did. Well, you did.
I don't know what to call it. I mean, it was
just so you know, it was in the gym.
And it was
hockey sticks and
so it wasn't even field
hockey. Rubber ball,
court hockey, basketball hockey.
It was a way for the PE teacher not to have to to much while
it's a Floridian trying to talk about hockey. I guess is the worst possible thing that could happen. But
teamwork is if you learn it young and you know how to, and you grow up learning how to deal with a coach, how to deal with peers, and it will serve you well in every part of your life. At least I believe that. Yeah. And like I said, here at the White House, many of the people that we work with have been on my team for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I think it makes you more effective as a leader and more effective as a team member. So I'm sure my parents weren't thinking about that when we were on the tennis court at noon, but it really does make a difference.
That's awesome. So what school did you go to? What college and what did you study?
So I was going to be an English teacher. I was really committed to it. I like I said, I was a little bit of a bookworm. And I went to school near here at the University of Maryland, and I got a job working on Capitol Hill part-time when I was there. And I sort of got bitten by the political bug, and I've been in and out of it several times during my adult life. But I can't imagine that I'll have another job after this one. I've been either working for local government when my kids were growing up. John Payton was a great boss and is a great friend. And I didn't work for a decade when my kids were really small. I don't recommend that, but because it's hard to get back into it after you've been after you've been out of it. But that's what I did, and sort of been at it now for a very long time.
Right.
You mentioned working in local government. We know that you did quite a bit in Jacksonville, and Jacksonville has a unique government. I'm wondering, did that in any way impact what you're doing today as far as working with, a lot of municipalities, the city and the county together, and all the different, hats you have to wear when you're working here in the federal government and in the president's office? How did that, correlate with some of the things you learned back in Jacksonville?
Well, if you're really interested in that, I have an answer that might surprise you.
Okay.
So less about consolidated government, more about a strong mayor form of government, which we're lucky to have, I think, in Jacksonville, Duval County, and not everybody has. At one point, there were 7 other cities in the country that had that, but it allowed for better government, more efficient government, all the reasons that in 1968, I think it was, the founders of consolidated Jacksonville government decided it was a good idea. Yeah. I worked there for 3 different mayors, one very briefly, but John Delaney and John Payton for some time. And that form of government with a mayor at the top, and then us, we call it chief administrative officer. Some places call it a county manager. And then there was the personal staff, which had typically a chief of staff and the communication staff and all of that. That is a system I know well, and I believe is incredibly effective. Fast forward to get here, there's not that position of a chief administrative officer or a chief operating officer. It does not exist in the federal government. There's the president and the cabinet, and they each preside over different agencies and disciplines. And in theory, that's the way the government is supposed to run. And it probably did in the 1800s. It doesn't run that way anymore. It is far too big. And the problems of the world right now are complex and huge. And there's no way Donald Trump sits around and says, gosh, I wonder what's going on at the agriculture department today, the way, for example, Sam Musa might have. So enter somebody like me into that vacuum. And it was the first week, and I thought, where is the chief? Where is that person? They don't exist. So in my job, I try to fill in that blank as best I can. And then also, these people work with me here. Right. But it's such a flaw in the way the federal system is. And I think I see it clearly because I come from a different system where I've seen it be so effective. And here it's just not.
Yeah, that's some good insight.
So this has got to be one of the most demanding jobs in the world.
That's what they say.
And I know I got a chance to talk to you a little bit right after you came up to DC, and you were telling me what your schedule is like, and it's absolutely insane. Is there any way that you could kind of just share what your daily routine would be? Because I think it's very interesting to the folks in Jacksonville. So
this is what I do. For however long I'm here, this is what I do. We start at 7. I live, pretty close to here, so it's not a big commute, but we start at 7, and it's a 12, 13, 14-hour day, 5 days a week. And if we travel on the weekends, there's that. If we don't travel on the weekends, I usually spend Saturday here and have some time to myself on Sundays. But it's so vast, and there's so much for me to learn that I don't know, that maybe in a year when I know more, it won't be quite as demanding. But right now, I'm doing everything for the first time, and that's just harder by definition.
Mm-hmm. Now, how often do you get back to Jacksonville? I know, obviously your schedule is packed and the job's demanding. Are you able to make it back every once in a while to?
I've been back once since Christmas, I guess. And I was going to go home for Easter. I can't imagine I'm not going to be home for Easter. Mm-hmm. But my 8-year-old grandson wants to go to the White House Easter egg roll. So I'm here.
There you go. Well, that makes it, if they're coming here,
it'll be
I'm
fun.
Sure Katie and Caroline will enjoy all that.
Yep.
That's super exciting. So I was watching on the news the other day, and I saw when Benjamin Netanyahu came to town, and you were sitting there in the meeting, and I have to think that sometimes you have to think this is incredible for me to sit here with world leaders and talk to them about what our policies are and what we need them to do in the world stage. Is there a meeting that sticks out to you, and how do you prepare for those conversations whenever you're about to meet a world leader?
I come through this door in the morning and pinch myself. I still can't believe I'm here. And so foreign affairs, international affairs, and all that is, that's not what I know. But the White House is very protocol driven. Again, things you find out once you get here, and that you go to the meetings you go to depending upon where you sit in the pecking order, and that's what puts me, somebody that really doesn't know much about all of that, in a meeting. So I'm in receive mode mostly, and the president he's been here before. He kind of knew a lot of these world leaders. I think we've had about 11 come visit since January 21st. So that's a lot. Mm-hmm. And we go to, he's taking a trip to Saudi Arabia next month, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. So there's a lot of that foreign travel, foreign relations, world relations that I don't have a big contribution other than to be present, listen, make sure I can make sure the preparations are done. I can make sure the protocol is adhered to, and that's about at my limit. Beyond that, I'm learning and they're teaching. So, but it's an honor to get to do it.
Yeah, you mentioned that a lot has happened in a short amount of time. Mm-hmm. And we know President Trump has his foot on the gas, mm-hmm. and he's not slowing down.
No.
Can you speak to his energy, and how do you keep up with that? I mean, is everybody, just scrambling?
Did you notice how young everybody is?
Yes, I was going to say, you have a lot of young staffers.
We do.
Is it true he doesn't sleep?
He doesn't. But we have he doesn't call me in the middle of the night. He calls people that are also nocturnal. So I'm into my 5th year of this. So we've sort of worked out a good system. His energy is what you read about and think about. He is thinking and on every minute. His Truth account and his now X account is active at sometimes to our dismay, any hour of the day or night. And that's the way he talks to the people of the country, but also the world. So what you see, if you see that a truth is timed at 2:20 in the morning, that's when it was done. He just doesn't need much. Contrary to public opinion, he's a voracious reader. There's no amount of TV news he won't watch. And it knows from being here before that his 4 years seems like an eternity. It isn't. And for him, in a second term, the midterm elections will be when after that, there'll be less ability to really change things. So we are on a fast course, including to win the midterms. So which would be a departure from what typically happens.
Right.
But yeah, his energy is what you think, and it's exhausting. Particularly here, there's four corners of this place, but when you travel, it's a whole different deal.
Yeah.
We went to. I was lucky enough to go to the reopening of Notre Dame in Paris after it burned. We never saw a hotel room. We flew there, went to the events. He catnapped on the plane. We went to the dinner, and then we flew back. We were there 36 hours and never saw a hotel room. So That's not unusual, and it's tough to keep up with.
Yeah. And a follow-up question comes to my mind. So you've worked for a lot of elected officials, and some that would probably be labeled as career politicians, and then others who are businessmen or women who are, coming out of that sector. Is there a difference between working for the two? Like what would be the characteristics of one or the other as far as?
I don't really gravitate to career politicians.
No.
John Payton was not a career politician when he ran and won. There's a perspective. If you come to office having been successful at something else, which virtually all of them have been, you're a different person than somebody that's just been, and no disrespect intended, but you're just different than somebody that's been running all their lives. And I guess everybody has their own view of that. But for me, the perspective, the freshness, the attitude, the ability to think you can kind of do anything of a non-career politician is better, I think, for whoever's being governed. A lot better.
Yeah.
I feel like you, in our relationship, it's been a mentor advisor type. Whenever I'm in trouble or in
Hopefully
crisis,
a friend.
Well, yes. It's a dear family friend, but I look to you for the advice and the always seeing ahead of the game before it happens. And I was going to tell TJ a story. I don't know if you remember this, Susie, but when the CEO position at the chamber became available, you were the first call that I made. And we talked through what we do. And then I talked to the search committee and they said, just send your resume in, send your bio in. And I only had one job before and I didn't have a resume or a bio.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
This was a Friday afternoon.
Somebody else in this room remembers it.
Yes. And so I go, Susie, I don't have a bio. I really never even interviewed for a job before. And so the entire weekend, I would send her like snapshots of my career and she basically wrote my entire bio and my resume. And then as we get into the process of the process of the hiring, the recruiting and the interviews, she set up mock interviews right before.
We call it a war room in my business.
Yeah, it was a war room, and it was the people that were questioning me were unique. It was John Payton, Tony Baselli, and Susie Wiles,
And Mike Hightower.
Yeah, that's right. That was a really special memory for me, and I think that you have done that for so many people. And it has to be a God-given ability to see and strategize. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I've been doing it a long time, and I think a lot of it comes from just having seen over and over and over how many different people have accomplished a big goal to them. It becomes sort of a library in your experience, and then you can hopefully be of help to somebody like a Daniel Davis. And look how well you've done. It was perfect. It's perfect.
It is, and it has been. And so tell us a little bit about your family. I know you have a beautiful grandson.
I do.
He's
been to the White House twice. He's a veteran.
So tell us about him.
So I have two daughters, and my older daughter has Easton, who's 8, and sort of the light of my life. He has done every Donald Trump thing you can think of. He's been to rallies. He's ridden with the SWAT team. He's been a Secret Service man for the day. He's been on the floor with doing videos for camera, and he's brought his friends to the White House after we got here. And now he's coming to the Easter egg roll on Monday.
How much fun is that?
Yeah, I'm a lucky grandmother, but he's a lucky kid too.
Yeah. And you and I have something in common,
What's
Susie. I have 2 daughters, and my daughters are 26 and 23. But I've had the privilege of working with both of your daughters.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, Katie when she was.
And you live to tell about it.
Yeah, Katie when she was running comms for the mayor, and then Caroline in a campaign that I was helping with, that you may be familiar with, but both of them I got to know really well, and they're very driven. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to them before we came here, trying to get some insight from them, and one of the things that they mentioned was how driven you were, of course, and how successful you've been, but you've always been someone that felt like a mom that was involved with their lives. They never had to wonder if you were going to be at their games or if you were going to be around for the things that were important to them. And so I wonder, for people like me that have, daughters that will one day probably be moms and have busy lives, what advice would you give to them as far as how to, work balancing some of the responsibilities and the, things that they'll have with their children?
I mean, I don't think it's very inspired advice. I think anybody would tell you, you've just got to be present at every stage of their lives. I think we do it backwards. Mm-hmm. We feel that it's important to be home when they're babies and home when they're little, and I did that.
Yeah.
And then when they really need you in 7th grade and 11th grade, you're off, you're working. It should be the other way around. Most people can change a diaper, no big deal, but not everybody can deal with a teenager with a bad grade or a broken heart. And that's when moms have to really be present, particularly with daughters. Mm-hmm. I'm watching my daughter raise a boy, and it could not be more different. Could not be more. She's a perfect boy mom. Which I don't think I would have been. But my goal, like I think most every mother, is to just be present as much as you can, physically, emotionally, the whole thing.
Yeah.
I was talking to Caroline a little bit about this before. Just, I want to get a little insight, and because I know you all very well, but what was it like? And she goes, Daniel, I'm telling you, my mom was a badass. That's what she said.
Is that a good thing for your daughter to say? I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah,
she was like, but you know what? When we were growing up, we didn't know that because she was mom, and that she was with us, and she just loved on us. She went to our soccer games, and I mean, you could tell she was convicted about what she was telling me, and that has to make you feel. They are so proud of you, and that has to make you feel so good to know that even in tough times, that the girls are just looking at you like, I mean, just like an idol almost. What do you think about that?
They're funny. They, they've seen me do this kind of work forever, but not at this level. And so when they came here, I had them both for breakfast, I think the first week I was here. And I think they thought, how did this happen? Like, how did we get here? How did our mother get here? But I'm proud of them and love them very much.
So Katie was talking about how people make a big deal about how you've broken the glass ceiling for the first female chief of staff for the president.
And who would have thought Donald Trump would have done that?
Yeah.
Right?
And she said, but in her mind and in their mind, because I was on a 3-way call with them earlier, they said she did that a long time ago. She'd been breaking glass ceilings in our mind for a long time. So they have so much respect for you. And I do appreciate what you said about making sure that no matter what it is you're doing, that your kids, your family,
they come first.
Yeah, that's your priority. And to be able to do that in the capacity of jobs that you've had is something that I think, people can emulate.
I failed to appreciate how important it is to women across the country to have a female in this job. Mm-hmm. I didn't know, neither did the president, that I was the first female. It just didn't seem like that could be the case, but people stopped me.
You didn't know that?
Mm-mm.
Wow.
And I also didn't expect to be doing this, so the whole thing surprised me. And when I go places where political people are that might, know who I am, women of all ages come up to me and say, congratulations. And I have to sort of stop and say, wow, that's quite something. How do we get to 2024 and not have a woman in this job? But we did.
Yeah, and you've paved the way, and you're an inspiration to, young ladies like my daughters and others even that are, in their adult years that are, parenting kids. And so we appreciate, the fact that you've been willing to kind of go first and take on this responsibility. This episode is brought to you by Big Chief Tire. Big Chief Tire isn't just a business, it's a Jacksonville legacy. Locally owned and fourth-generation family run since 1961, Big Chief has spent more than 60 years earning the trust of this community. Their reputation is built on honesty, transparency, and a commitment to guest service that goes far beyond the standard. Whether you need new tires, routine maintenance, or a quick repair, you can count on being treated like family, because that's exactly how they do business. With 6 convenient locations across Northeast Florida and a team that knows your name, Big Chief Tire is proud to keep Jacksonville rolling. One car, one customer, and one generation at a time.
Change doesn't just happen. It's built one conversation, one connection, one decision at a time. At the Southern Group, we don't just navigate the system, we help shape it. I'm Rachel Cohn. I'm the Senior Managing Partner for the Southern Group. We are the state's largest lobbying firm and then recently opened an office in Washington, D.C.
The Southern Group is involved with every facet of government. There's not an issue that you would come across that we can't help affect change with.
From Jacksonville to Tallahassee to D.C., we work at every level of government to turn your vision into action.
From independent authorities and land developers to nonprofits and major corporations, nothing is too big or too small. Our clients trust us to clear the path, cut through the red tape, and get things done.
Because influence creates opportunity. Let us show you how.
I think about it, Susie, with my job, I get to work with all sorts of entrepreneurs and innovators and small business owners. And you think about, it's hard enough for a male CEO to navigate success in the business world. But to think about all of the moms that have a dream, they have a vision, and they want to execute, and they have to go home and help get the kids ready for school the next day. I mean, it to me, it's mind-boggling, and the most respect for the small business owner moms that I get a chance to meet every day.
100%.
And they're going to listen to this. And I think that they're going to be inspired by hearing what you have to say. And I just think it's so encouraging, and I can't wait to spread that
well,
message.
I appreciate you having me on. It's great.
So one of the things that we do, we ask all of the guests on the podcast to tell, we obviously, you may have the coolest job in the United States of America. That is pretty
and hardest at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, I've got a really cool job in Jacksonville, and TJ has a great job. But while we were growing up, it wasn't always that way. We had to work our way up to where we are.
Everyone does.
So what was the worst job you have had, or the hardest job you've had when you were growing up?
I've had jobs I didn't love as much as others. When I think my first job that wasn't, babysitting, or I guess babysitting, I worked at the Russell Stover candy store in Paramus Park Mall in New Jersey. And it was so awful. The mall was awful. The candy was awful. No disrespect to Russell Stover. I don't know if they're still in business.
Their stock's going down.
Sorry. No, not the box candy. This was, it's all spread out on those trays, and everybody's spreading germs. And that was not my favorite.
What did you have to do? Yeah. What?
I sold candy. Sold candy. I worked at a bookstore, which I loved. I loved working on the Hill, which I did young. I had 2 fabulous mayors that I worked for in Jacksonville, John Payton and John Delaney before that. So I've really been very blessed with bosses that became friends or were friends and were winners. And same with campaign work. I've learned every step of the way. I've grown every step of the way, and I don't ever want that to stop. When that stops, stop being interested or bored with what I'm doing or not learning, it'll be time to retire at that point.
So when you were in Jacksonville, there were many things that you championed when you were working for different mayors. I know one of them was the environment and the park system and the river. Can you talk a little bit about what your motivation was there and all the things that you had an opportunity to do when you were in Jacksonville?
Well, the Interior Secretary here is the former 2-term governor of North Dakota, Doug Burgum. And he also runs something called the National Energy Dominance Council, which is we believe the way to stimulate the economy most quickly is through energy production. So he was here just before you got here, talking about the staffing at the National Park Service and whether Yellowstone needed more forward-facing people or more people to do sort of back office things, and how antiquated the ticketing system is for the national parks. And I thought, I know, I've lived this.
Yeah.
I've lived this.
Right.
It was smaller and localized, but I have lived this. And I find that so much of what I had the, honor, the pleasure of doing in Jacksonville is here. Right. And I think I might be able to do it better because I did it then.
Right.
The president is closing down components of the Department of Education and sending most of it back to the states. And a big part of that is early childhood education. Well, that's something I was privileged to do in Jacksonville, work on that. So it's funny how what I've done in the past really does manifest here in a way that really helps me do my job. Jacksonville is such a remarkable, amazing place full of people that are very special, and it's had great leadership over the years. And I think we remember our leaders in Jacksonville fondly as more and more time goes by, and I think that will continue. We're fortunate in Jacksonville to have that.
Yeah, and thinking about the environment, know that you were extremely involved with, things related to the St. Johns River. You're very conservative when it comes to your political stance.
I'm the resident liberal around here.
So I was going to ask, why do you think people try to make that, liberal conservative thing, taking care of the environment? Or what is your perspective on that? Because obviously you're conservative, but you also have a passion for the environment, making sure that it's managed well and is taken care of.
Sure. They're not contradictory.
Yeah.
Conservation stewardship is I think our obligation. This country was built by people that believed it was a special place and it needed to be preserved. That's why our national park system is as it is. People get twisted up in what that costs, but it's always a mix of public and private money. It's always a case of what you can do on the conservation land and the preservation land. Donald Trump in his first term passed landmark legislation to preserve land and trees. And you never know that because it's Donald Trump, and people don't think of him in that way. But honestly, some of the most forward-thinking conservation legislation came in 2017 and then 2019, and it will come again in this term. So I don't think they're mutually exclusive, and I think, frankly, being good stewards is incumbent on all of us, no matter our political persuasion.
Absolutely. You think about your grandson.
Yeah.
It's very easy to make sure that we preserve and conserve our great state and our country.
Is there something you're most proud of in regards to the work you've done with the environment?
There's been a lot that I've been fortunate to do, but having the largest park system in the continental United States is a pretty big deal, and something that Jacksonville, it markets it and people think about it. But I think over time, as Florida becomes more populated and more paved over, I think that'll turn out to be a bigger deal than we think about it today. Certainly the work keeping the river clean was really important to me. But probably the size of the park system and the scope of the park system, active, passive, all across the county.
I think the average citizen in Jacksonville probably doesn't even realize that we have the largest, system.
No.
But I think in time, they will.
Yeah.
I was talking to Mayor Payton today about the book club, and I know that you were involved with that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you and the mayor worked together to implement that?
Can you imagine a mayor of a huge city who was secure enough in his position and his place and himself to let us make him a cartoon on a book? Think about that. I don't know of another elected official that would have been so comfortable in his own skin that he allowed us to do that. And yet the kids loved it. We know now how important early childhood education was. And to think that we gave every child born in Duval County a book.
That's pretty cool.
It was monumental.
Mm-hmm.
Funny today anecdote. Obviously, the federal budget is big and bloated, and we have Elon Musk here trying to cut it, and we do our part too. But we're getting ready to take a budget to Congress, and it has to be cut more than anybody's comfortable with. Head Start, which I think all your Head Start lives in the Department of Health and Human Services, and the Office of Management and Budget, the budget cutters, said, well, we think we'll just do away with Head Start. Its performance is not good. Its attendance has gone down over the years. It's just not the program it used to be. We think we'll eliminate it. Well, Bobby Kennedy's family started Head Start. So we went to him and said, it's going to have to go. He said, no. I'll find a way to save the money somewhere else, and we'll keep Head Start. So in a funny kind of way, I'm back to where John Payton was when we started thinking about children starting out in life and what they need to become successful adults. So I started out by saying to you how much of what I used to do is here. That's just there's an example every day. That's
on
today's
a much bigger scale.
Yeah, but
it translates.
But it does translate. At least it does for me.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that we do when we're talking to our guests is we ask them to bring a photo that we can look at. Maybe if there's a story behind it. And I was wondering if you had a picture for us.
Well, I got warned, so I have this one. This is actually on my shelf in my office. My dad was a kicker. And so this is a picture of me trying to kick the football at about age, 18 months, maybe 2.
Oh my goodness. That is so dang cute.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yes,
it is.
Black and white, I'll note.
Yeah. That's amazing. So did you travel a lot with when your dad was on the on air, or
No, he worked, mostly weekends, and we had school and church and all the things you have. We had some odd family traditions, like we never had Thanksgiving on a Thursday because Thanksgiving is a football day. Right. So we would just watch football on Thursday and have Thanksgiving on Friday. But no, we were a pretty normal family, pretty predictable and involved in the things that everybody was. We had a famous dad, which I don't think we really appreciated until we were a lot older.
Right.
Because he was still dad.
Yeah.
Maybe unlike some families, he worked on the weekends and at night. So he did the carpool a lot and was home in the afternoon when we got home from school and helped with homework. So maybe that's the different part.
You mentioned traditions. And one of the things Caroline said when I was talking to her is that you always created traditions for them growing up.
Yeah.
And all of them still exist.
They do.
Even though they're...
Except I'm breaking them this year because I'm here at Easter.
Right. Even though they're adults, she said she loves that. She appreciates that. Do you have a favorite tradition that you do with your family, a certain holiday that you really love? Or
I love all holidays. Honestly, I love Thanksgiving. We have celebrated Thanksgiving in our family with the same other 3 families since my older daughter was a baby. So that's a long time to be together every year. And we did that this year. I made that. I just not right now. I think when you're grown, it's what you remember about your growing up. You much of it blends together, or at least it did for me, and I think my kids would say the same. But the traditions that go around holidays or graduations or church on Sunday or sports, those are the things, the memorable moments. And I think it's really important to celebrate those and make sure that you do all that you can to make sure that's what your kids remember.
It goes by so fast.
It does.
I told you my daughters are in their 20s now, and my oldest is getting married in October. And
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to, one day having little grandchildren running around. And you mentioned Easton being, the joy of your life. Is there something in particular, I'm sure there's many things, that you really love about being a grandma? What does he call you, by the way?
Susu.
Susu. That's so cute.
Just perfect.
Yeah. Is there something you love to do with him, or, things that you love most about it?
Just everything. Yeah. Honestly, just everything. He's a all boy, but he's also a sweet boy. And it's been fun to watch him. He loves golf. I think he'll be a swimmer. He's a swimmer now, but he loves that, seems to be the most. I'm going to try to keep him out of football. Imagine a summer all not in football, but I'm going to try to keep him out of that. But it's just been fun to watch him grow up. And again, boys are so different. So that's been a particularly fun part of it all.
So Gabe just turned 18.
Whew.
And he's going to head to FSU next year and join Christian there.
Great.
And Caroline is finishing up her language school in Africa and will be home in May.
I've been following her on Facebook. It's amazing.
She is an amazing kid.
Amazing.
And Olivia is at LSU in graduate school. So when you talk about it going by so fast,
it's in an instant.
Literally, you were seeing my children as little babies, and now they're all adults. And
the older you get, the quicker it goes. At least that's what I'm finding.
I would agree with that.
So enjoy every minute.
A couple more things as we bring it in for a landing. One thing that people have asked us to talk about with our guests is what they love most about Jacksonville, because we talk about everything about Jacksonville, the business community and sports, NFL, whatever it is. But when you think about the city that you love the most, the first thing you said when you sat down is, I miss Jacksonville. I miss my home. And it's totally understandable that you're serving our country but you still miss home.
I do.
When you think about that, what's the most important part of Jacksonville that you think about when you think about home?
I think about, I think the most important thing is the people. It's what do they call it? The biggest little town in America. I feel that it is. And whether you're in Duval County or St. Johns County or any of the surroundings, it's all a community, and we take care of each other there. It's a beautiful place to live, great weather. Sure, it has city problems like every city, but it's a place where people care about each other and our community. And I don't know that there are a lot more like that. If there are, I don't know them.
Yeah, I can tell you we are seeing a lot of success with companies wanting to move to Jacksonville. I mean, I think what you're doing here locally on a policy side is incredibly important to help us bring advanced manufacturing back to Jacksonville. FinTech is a huge growth area. We had a healthcare company in a couple years back, and talking to the CEO as to why he chose Jacksonville to bring 500 employees. He said, honestly, I've never met a place where the community just loves each other and they work together. And at first I thought it was fake, and I thought everybody was
not fake.
And I had a prospect in town at the Players, and we were walking to one of the holes, and people that we knew stopped and just loved on Jacksonville and why they should think about moving their company to Jacksonville. And after a while, he goes, am I in the Truman Show? Because this does not seem
right. No, it's real.
It does not seem real.
It's real.
And I think you described that to a T when you're talking about the community and what it means.
I've had lots of Jacksonville visitors since I've been here. People that want to move pieces of the federal government to Jacksonville, making sure that Jacksonville's infrastructure, where it is supported by the federal government, that it doesn't get forgotten. So I, sort of stay in touch with what's going on, but it is not that is special. It's really the people that are special.
Yeah. I work at the chamber, get to work with Daniel, and attend a lot of chamber events, and the members there, obviously are running businesses, some of them competitively with each other, but there also seems to be this collaboration and a lot of genuine friendships that happen, among the business community. And I think that's one thing that also sets Jacksonville apart. They're willing to work together, even if it means taking a step back from their own success, if it's going to move the city forward. So
I promise you, as I've traveled this country, that is not typical. It is just not. Yeah. We're special.
I am glad to hear that, because I hear it locally, but I don't know what's going on. Yeah,
it's real.
Well, are there any other parting words that you would like to tell the citizens of Jacksonville? They're incredibly proud of you, and I hope that you know that. I hope you understand that they are. We are.
It's been quite a whirlwind. We get up every day and try to do the best we can. It's a tough world. The climate in the country is not great right now. It doesn't seem to be getting any better. So that just makes things harder. But I guess what I would say is that I promise anybody that's interested that we're going to do our best every day to try to make a difference.
Susie, it's been an honor for me to meet you for the first time. And the thing that I appreciate is your humility. You have a lot of, responsibility, and you're doing an amazing job in your role, but I appreciate your humility, and you are an inspiration to, especially the women that look to you. And thank you for what you've done. We appreciate you.
Thank you for having me as a guest. Good luck with the podcast.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you so much, Susie. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Gallagher, a global leader in insurance and risk management, providing businesses and individuals with the confidence to move forward. As a community insurance broker and a trusted local consultant in Greater Jacksonville, Gallagher has grown its business by working with people and organizations who share its common values and vision. When you work with Gallagher, you have access to resources and the knowledge of a worldwide leader with nearly 100 years of insurance innovation. Managing risks with customized solutions, a full spectrum of services, helping clients foster a thriving workforce, and always holding ourselves to the highest standards of ethics. That's the Gallagher way. Whether you're looking to protect your businesses, your employees, or your future, Gallagher has the expertise and the solutions you need. Visit ajg.com to learn more about Gallagher's approach to comprehensive insurance, risk management, and employee benefit solutions. Gallagher, helping you face every challenge with confidence. Through innovation and infrastructure investments, Peoples Gas has been committed to delivering safe and reliable natural gas that homes and businesses can count on since 1895. More about Peoples Gas and how we are at the heart of Florida's energy at floridasenergy.com.
Hi, this is Mike Amarata with Resource Solutions Plus, where bold ideas meet precision execution. We don't just create merch, we elevate your brand. From creative design to streamlined fulfillment, we will handle it all. You get high-quality screen printing, embroidery, customized packaging, and direct-to-film printing using the latest technology right here in Jacksonville. We bring speed, style, and service to every order. Ready to level up your brand? Visit rsppromo.com and let's get started.
Thanks for tuning in to Speakeasy Jacks. If you enjoyed the conversation, follow us on our social media platforms, share it with a friend, and make sure you like and subscribe so you never miss an episode.